The Amg One is the chosen one, the Mercedes to end all Mercedes. And with that said, Mercedes did something they've never done before. The Amg One follows a long line of Mercedes Halo cars, but this time around, Mercedes is playing with a different rulebook. Just moving around the car, you can see that this is Mercedes' most race-inspired car since the CLK GTR. Look at the lower bumper, huge intake screen airflow and cooling. Same goes for the scoop above the windshield. Active aero above the wheel arches look like something out of the Dark Knight's toolbox. Swing back to the rear and it follows principles similar to the P1. No nonsense, only function. The side is full of cutouts and misdirection, a bounty of winglets and side vents. Even the wheel design prioritizes function. In fact, the design as a whole places purpose above all else. From the side, it's clear the silhouette was forged by the wind. The thing that really stands out to me the most about the design and abstraction is just how slippery it looks. In the Utopia video, we saw how Pagani prioritized elegance and ornate details. Here, Mercedes prioritizes the aerodynamic transaction with the wind. A lot of the Pagani's designs were hard to parse, a lot of beautiful details that were hard to explain. The Amg One is purposeful and intended. Comparing contemporaries on the hypercar scale, I really see Pagani on one end, Bugatti somewhere in the middle, and this on the other end, even more so than the Jesko. Proof is on the inside. At a time where supercar builders no longer get a pass for subpar interiors, Mercedes doesn't seem concerned about comfort and luxury. Where a Bugatti is ready for a short trip or a dinner at a 5-star, the Amg One can just wait in the paddock. It harkens back to one of the last top-tier hypercars that gave little consideration for luxury and comfort, the Enzo. Mercedes are concerned about the necessities and nothing else. Inside and out, it certainly doesn't look like a typical Mercedes. And that speaks volumes on what this car is to the company. I've always held that Mercedes prioritizes luxury, while BMW places sport and drive at the top. Now, that's not to say that each company doesn't represent both domains, but the split seems like 60-40. But here, things are different. This isn't just a super fast Mercedes, it's a different animal. Mercedes have made super and hypercars before. Think the SLS, SLR, and CLK GTR. But these have all followed the design ethos of that generation's Mercedes. The CLK GTR was more than just a hypercar, it was a true race car. Mercedes' version of the 911 GT1, one of my favorite homologated race cars. It was a car designed for the GT Racing series, but in looks it was a Mercedes CLK on steroids. The road legal version shared almost no parts with the standard CLK, but certainly carried some resemblance in the lights and grille. But as only 28 were made for the public, the CLK GTR and GTR LM were racing cars made for the public to comply with series rules. But the SLR was something different. The SLR Vision concept debuted in Detroit in 1999. It was original, gorgeous, and sleek. Some retro elements mixed with futurist prominence. The nose was very F1 inspired. Stunning concave wheels, shark vents, and butterfly doors. There was so much praise for the concept that the Halo car was greenlit. It was a monumental step forward for the company. Today the SLR concept looks special, but it still looks like a Mercedes. See, in 1999, Mercedes looked like this. But then in 2003, the production SLR was revealed looking like this. By then, much of the brand had caught up. The SLR looked like a special car, but still a Mercedes. In fact, just a year later, Mercedes SLR'd the SLK, giving it a similar nose and the familiar rear lights. This is what makes the Amg One so special. It doesn't look like a Mercedes. Which is especially amazing because, compared to competitors, Mercedes is the most prone to harmonizing their designs across the range. They've had 5 years to bring the rest of the lineup in line with the AMG One, but they haven't. That's because the One is its own thing. It's different from anything Mercedes have done before. The CLK GTR was a race car with a face and back to look like their road cars. The SLR concept was a glimpse into the overhaul Mercedes had planned for the entire lineup. The AMG One is a halo trackmaster, AMG first and Mercedes second. It's its own thing. Mercedes sacrificed the corporate face for life on track, and we have to assume it's better for it. You know, Lexus carried the slogan, the relentless pursuit of perfection, for over 2 decades, including the so-called boring years. But since their triumphant LFA, few cars have adhered to this motto more than the AMG One. It's in that adherence to the purpose that it's truly beautiful. I was having trouble figuring out why I'm not very excited for the AMG One, but came to realize that it's kind of old. Okay, it's not truly old, but in my opinion, Mercedes gave the public a glimpse of the car far too early. It's been 5 years since the One was revealed, and since then it's popped up at various car shows time and again. And it seems like we've had it for 5 years. So when production finally started this year and journalists got their hands on it, it felt like we'd been living with it for so long. You know, it kind of reminds me of the second generation NSX, concept revealed in 2012, but not going on sale till 2016. We spent time with the design for so long that the final release wasn't as grand as an NSX successor deserves. And while I do like the second gen NSX, not many people talk about it, but the concept had an amazing interior, one of my recent favorites. Then in production it had a TL interior, which is a good interior for a TL, but not for an NSX. The AMG One had been in the oven for a year longer, and while I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, since they did deliver what we were showed, I wish they just dropped the ball on us and let the world deal with it. I get gauging public opinion too late in the game could be detrimental, but it's hard to believe that there was any worry of sales. They're already sold out, even with the North American orders being cancelled. That said, I'm happy they were able to stay faithful to the early concepts. Even naming the car Mercedes AMG One is Mercedes intimating its purpose. It's the ultimate AMG, the One. Reminiscent of the LaFerrari, the Ferrari, this is the one pure AMG. And like all stories of the One, the AMG is up against many formidable opponents. Things like the Jesko, Navara, Valkyrie, and SF90 are all up for the title of track master. But the AMG One is Mercedes' chosen one. And if the prophecy is true, it will overcome any competitors and bring balance back to the track. It's inevitable in design and formidable in purpose. And because of that, it may end up being the legend we need, but not the one we were expecting.